Hey guys, welcome back to Planet Coaster 2 and welcome back to Utopia World. This episode is going to be a little bit different because we're going to be jumping around a fair amount. I just wanted to sort of polish off the main street area of the park and redo a few things that I wasn't too happy with, or just add a little bit more detail here and there. We also do two interiors in this episode, one of which being the guest services building and the other being the gift shop. So there's an assortment of time lapses in this video, but nothing too long. There's not really that much recorded footage because it's just one of those episodes where it's mainly just sort of polishing areas off that are already done. So even though there's a lot of work that goes into it, it kind of feels like nothing's really got done when you look at it at the end. But by the time of this episode going out, I feel like the main street area is pretty much complete and we can move on to something else. So the first thing that I'm doing then is the guest services interior, which I feel like it turned out pretty well. The idea for this is that I was trying to keep it sort of in the 90s, like this park hasn't really had the budget to upgrade to a brand new modern refurbished building. It still looks neat and tidy and still does everything it needs to do, but we haven't gone for, this super sort of modern interior. For the main sort of focal point, I just nicked the coaster design that I used for the park entrance and just copied that over and put it on a plain white canvas, and then we're just doing some sort of almost like tiled walls behind, so we get this one feature wall that's slightly different, and then everything else is just sort of plain stucco walls, sort of plain sort of plastered wall, I guess. Considering that I don't normally do interiors, I was quite pleased that this sort of came out fairly clean, and obviously you've got to bear in mind that things clip through and you can see on the outside as well, so you want to make sure that all of that is covered up, and everything just sort of looks neat and tidy, I think is the main sort of focus here. So building our wooden desk, obviously for the attendants to work on their computers and bring up any information that the guests need. So at this point they could be selling annual passes and stuff like that. Renewing your pass, whatever you want to do, selling, I guess you can get your fast pass tickets in here. The one thing that sort of in hindsight I don't really have much of is sort of advertising inside this building, like billboard, like banners up or anything saying what you can actually purchase here. I wanted to just keep everything fairly simple and low key, but in hindsight, maybe that's something that I might go back in and add, because obviously they are going to want to sort of upsell you some things in here as well. We do of course have like strollers and stuff to hire like that, and some park maps as well. But yeah, like I said, I didn't go overboard, kept it fairly simple and straightforward with this basic wooden desk then, and just a roped off section for the employees to enter and exit by. I always feel like this is kind of the easiest way to do it. I do put a door in the corner as well, if I remember rightly, and that is just simply so that there's a back staff entrance, but again it's just implied really, it doesn't sort of serve any purpose. We don't actually have any staff members in here either, which is something that I might consider at some point, whether I can place an empty shop or something here, or even like just an information kiosk just to have them standing there. I didn't really think of that in the first place. Here you can see that I'm scanning the workshop for some items. In the end I just decided to use the computer screens but not put a keyboard and mouse in there as well, because I just thought the P scan wouldn't really be worth it for how noticeable it would actually be. Everything that I've nicked off the workshop I will put down in the description when this video goes live, so everyone gets credit. I'm really sorry I can't remember off the top of my head the names of the creators that made all these things that I've nicked off the workshop, but yeah, you can see some really cool strollers as well that I use there. But yeah, like I say, I'll put it all down in the description So if you want to subscribe to these items yourself, then you can. Just finishing off some of the plaster work then around the other walls in the building. And it's just, the main challenge here was just to obviously go around the windows, but once you do one, it's quite simple. You can just copy it all across. Like many things with this game, is you just build something once, and that makes life easier. So here are strollers that you can hire. Thinking about it, I probably should have done some wheelchairs as well to hire, and maybe that's something to go back and do. Every time that I think something's complete in this park, I then watch a time lapse back and think, "Oh, I should have done that." But you know, as long as we've got sort of the idea that this is a realistic guest services building, I don't think it has to be perfect. Just building a quick custom bookshelf here to put some park maps on. Again, these are off the workshop, really cool. Park maps, obviously you can change the names on them and everything, so that they are saying the name of your park or whatever. I don't even know if we end up doing that actually. It looks like it just says park map twice. I can't quite see by the size of the video on my screen, it's a bit small. But that's fine, no one's really going to be paying too much attention to what's on the maps. Putting in some lighting then, some very 90s lighting there that sort of goes nicely with the coaster sort of decal thingy we've got on the wall. And then just adding some ceiling lighting in as well to kind of polish off the building. And I think the lighting in here looks really nice actually. It's kind of like a little bit darker than it probably should be. And I think that works out kind of well, if that makes any sense. Moving on to the gift shop then, unfortunately I did lose quite a lot of footage here due to when I had a hard drive go down a couple of weeks ago. So most of the interior was already done at this point, and I made a schoolboy error of not really practicing with the gift shops before starting to build one. And I stupidly added all the items in individually by myself before realising that you just click a button and it automatically fills the shelves with items. I thought I'd be creative and do them all myself, but I ended up having to delete them all because for them to be usable, I believe it just works by the shelves getting automatically filled. Obviously you can have shelves that you've custom done yourself, but I decided, yeah, we'll just use the default ones. So yeah, I probably wasted about an hour filling up those shelves before I realised that, but that's how it goes. This is my first time building a gift shop in the game, even though we had this feature added ages ago. I don't always get to the new features sort of as soon as they come out. It just depends if they have a feature, you know, that I want to use in an actual build I'm doing at that time. If not, then I don't tend to. The anomaly for that would be the last video I did, I guess, because it was just a sorcery pack video. I just wanted to do something on the sorcery pack. I don't often do that when new packs launch and stuff, because I'm usually pretty late to the game. But I did want to do something for the sorcery pack, so hence the sort of one-off build in the last video. At this point then, you can see most of the gift shop is in place already. I'm just sort of adding a nice sort of roof section here with some interesting lighting and stuff, just to try and make it look a little bit less bland and generic. But I think this building does well, or rather this interior does well, as still sticking to that very sort of 90s. We're on a low budget, so we haven't upgraded this for many years sort of idea that I'm going for with this one. And yeah, I think the brown textures really help with that as well. You plain sort of wooden floor and then your stucco walls, and you'll be able to see in just a sec the final bit of detail I add into this shop. Really sort of gives that idea. It's the finishing touch. I decided to place some funky like shapes on these back walls, and I feel like I've done this before in a gift shop in Planet Coaster 1, and just copying the same idea again. It's really like retro feeling, and I think it's kind of fun. And it's really simple to do, so I didn't have to waste like a huge amount of time doing this, but it just adds a bit of colour and interest to the shop as well, brightens it up. And it goes with the outside of the shop as well, which is similar sort of colours. So for the final part of the build, I'm just going to be polishing off everything else that needed a little bit of love and attention on the main street. So firstly with the carousel, I'm just recolouring some of the fences, turning everything down a bit to replicates sort of the rest of the park, and then we're adding in all the details like the safety signs and the wait times and everything like that, which I'm going to try and do for every ride in this park, just to add a little bit of realism. These are all off the workshop as well. I believe I've linked them in a previous video. I'll try and link them in this one as well. And then we have to shrink down the height restriction guide on these rides, because obviously these are family attractions that pretty much anyone can ride. And then just adding a little bit more detail to the signs, I end up deciding that the sign needs a custom sign, and I replicate something that's kind of like pretty similar to one that we've already got in game, like a fantasy piece, but I wanted to do it custom, so I put myself through a little bit of agony doing that as well. But yeah, all in all, this came together pretty easily. We just recoloured some of the paths and turned down some of the pieces and copied them all across, adding some fences in. I didn't really keep too much of the footage of this stuff because it's kind of repetitive and monotonous, so we will head in just a sec over into the real-time section, and we're going to have a little look at what's been built and some of the things that I might have missed in this time lapse. So I'll see you all over there in just a sec. Welcome into the live section then, and here we are at the entrance of Utopia World. Let's go and take a little look at how our main street is now looking, and even just as we go through now, it looks like there's a lot more going on with all the various details that we placed around. It doesn't look like such a big sort of empty plaza, which was the sort of issue I was struggling with before. We will go and take a look at everything new with the rides in a sec. First, I just wanted to mention these stalls that we've built. These are custom made to an extent. Unfortunately, I didn't have any of the footage for the time lapse for these because it was lost in the hard drive crash. I won't be uploading them to the workshop for the simple reason that these fridges are already a workshop item. Really cool pieces, part of the kitchen pieces. With this drinks one, you can see that I've just basically changed around everything in there and put a load of cans of Coke and bottles of water and stuff like that. So you can see we've got all our fizzy drinks in there as well. I think it's really handy to have an ice cold drink stand sort of near the entrance of a theme park like this. The last time I went to a theme park, it was an extremely hot day, so I was literally just necking £3 bottles of water pretty much all day. They made a fortune out of me, and then I realised that there's literally like a fountain that you can fill them up with for free, but never mind. So yeah, this is my sort of drink stand. We've got another one for ice cream over in the back here, which we'll take a quick look at now. And again, the ice cream fridge itself was a workshop item, and I've also used this same fridge again but shrunk it down and placed it flat to sort of signify that we've got some ice lollies in here. These are unmanned, unfortunately, because of how I've designed them sort of off the ground, and I can't get a shop in there and get them to get the staff member to sit at the right place. We might try and play about with that at some point and try and get it working, but for now that is how these are going to look. So let's have a look and the guest services building then. The outside, the colours now match the entrance, everything's toned down a little bit more and just polished off a little bit, like I put some trims around here and stuff like that. So as we go in, the first thing that we've got on our right is the park maps, and they literally just say park maps. They're absolutely fine. And then we've got our reception desk, or our welcome desk, with a couple of employees, or space for a couple of employees here. And then just to, I think what I might do is just put a poster up here saying inquire about fast pass and annual passes and stuff like that, or even just a poster for fast pass. And then over here we've got our strollers. Yeah, they're a really cool workshop item. Really like how they were designed. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That is our guest services interior. Okay, so next let's take a look at our gift shop. Here's another look at it from the outside. The Emporium, it's even with this sort of brightly coloured text, it gives that really cool 90s sort of vibe to it. I think it's quite a tidy building as well. You can tell that it's sort of supposed to be a fairly low budget building. With the doorway being all open like this, I decided the best way to make it realistically believable is to have some shutters. And these were simply made from an aquatic roof tile piece, but now that we can rotate things in any direction that we like, I was able to make these kind of cool curved shutters. I don't know how realistic it would actually be to have curved shutters like this. You'd probably just have one going across, to be honest, but I kind of like the way it looked. So in the Planco world, we're just going to say this is feasible. We've got a couple of like lock catches to attach them down here as well. And we have our Big Brother's Watching You security camera as you come in here as well. I found that these cameras are rather a bit too large to sort of place around the park, but using it like this, it's kind of works out. You probably would see quite a large security camera like that in a shop like this that can rotate around and make sure nobody's stealing. So yeah, the interior of the shop, nice brightly coloured and sort of vibrant decoration and stuff to contrast with the rather brown interior walls and floor that we've got, and I think it all just works together really well. I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. Got our checkouts here as well. Nothing really behind there at the moment, but we've got an implied sort of staff door at the back there as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for our gift shop. Let's take a look at the other additions to this area. I think Mr. Cactus here is a little bit lost. He's supposed to be in the western area, but I haven't really sorted out staffing zones properly yet. But it's kind of fun to have him walking around, I guess. So over by our Grand Carousel now, you can see we've made a custom sign. This was actually just made from basic shapes, and although I know we do have a similar sort of fairy tale one in game, I wanted to kind of do this custom, so that's how it turned out. And I think having the red brick path is kind of a nice addition now to the game, being able to recolour paths. Basically, I think it looks a bit better than this sort of bland texture. You might have noticed in a time lapse that I was trying to change this to a different colour as well, and it just wasn't having it. But I think this looks fine here, but over by the rides I'm quite enjoying the more vivid red colour. We've also recoloured the carousel, so it looks a little bit more attractive now. And then again, same thing for the Ferris wheel. We have exactly the same pathing and exactly the same fencing, but everything's just tied in a little bit better together now. Just before we have a look at the sort of queue line for the Ferris wheel, I will just show you these benches. They look like a normal bench, but we've added some decals to them just to make it look like these are a bit more worn down and a little bit more tired. We've got one that's a slightly different colour, like maybe the weathers have got to this one a little bit worse, and some sort of damage to the top of it there. Just tiny little details that I'm trying to add a little bit more in the park now for giving it a little bit more believability, I guess. So let's zoom out a little bit and just have a look at the queue line for this one. There's nothing really too special here. It's basically just the same all the way around, but I think it looks nice and neat and tidy. And then we've just used this basic metal fencing around the ride as well, just to keep that all closed in. Make sure that no one sort of climbs into the ride area or anything like that. And then I'll just use some of these Italian cypress trees to finish off the corners there. Yeah, I think all in all, this whole area now looks a lot more cohesive. Like I say, there's a lot more going on now. It looks more complete and looks more like a theme park should. So I'm really happy with how this all turned out. Please do give me your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.